Hey there again, Postal here. So we're taking out the I-220, another Tier 8 battle. We'll see what we can do here. As far as we got Hamhawk on the enemy team, that's going to be a pain in the butt. Just because it kind of does everything that this plane does, only faster, right? We can outmaneuver that plane, but he can certainly outspeed us. So let's see what we can do with that. I've got better guns, but it might not matter if he's going 50 million miles an hour. We do have a ME-209A on our team, which is definitely a good thing. Another altitude fighter. I like the ME-209. So let's go ahead and get ourselves up to a reasonable altitude here. And we are an altitude fighter. And, you know, we are right in line there with the BF-109G and the P-51D. Not quite the same altitude, but certainly a lot higher than the other planes at this tier. So, heavy fighter. We've got a little bit more maneuverability than the P-51D for sure. I don't know about the BF-109G. But we've also got something that those planes don't have, and that's a 4 20mm cannons centrally located. That goes a long way to keeping this plane as an effective attacker. You're able to get 4 20mm cannons on target very, very quickly. I liked this plane so much when I was first grinding the line that I actually grinded out the IL-20. I mean, the IL-10. And I am not a GA player. It definitely wasn't at the time. Aim further out when I'm trying to hit this guy. What is he turning back in on me here? Okay. Go. SP-72. Got a lot of fast planes around here, huh? A lot of fast, unmaneuverable planes. Let's see if I can't stick with them long enough. Alright. Guess I set him on fire. Let's go ahead and let's defend this sector for a little while. If we can. Get our boost on. Get the Sea Fang knocked out again if we can. Should be able to. He's not coming towards us at all. J7W1. Alright, we'll need to stop defending after this. We need to start attacking. Excellent. Let's head to... Head there, I guess. Hoping that we can get that sector. Maybe, maybe not. Oh, we did. Good. Alright, so let's head to the center then. We'll stay at this reasonable altitude. I think that's probably the 302. Nope, BF-109G. Never mind. Never mind. Let's see what we'll do versus this P-47. Him knocked out. XF5U, the old pancake, flapjack, whatever you want to call it. I call them pancakes. I don't know. I've never used the terminology flapjack very often. Not for a delicious breakfast meal, anyway. So get this guy to stop picking on our bomber. And see if we can't get that. Alright. So we're up pretty high, as is life. Let's see what we can do versus B-32. Alright, so we're definitely going to be getting hit here. Just see if we can just kind of mitigate the damage. Thank goodness it's a bot. Am I right? Yes. Alright, we've got this heavy fighter back inbound. We are up on points, but only barely. Ah. Our guns on target here. Excellent. Let's see if we can't get this GA knocked out. Got a multi-roll nearby, but doesn't seem to be making any kind of concerted effort towards us. Excellent. Let's keep on moving on, right? See if I can't get back up to altitude here. Get somewhere that we need to get. What is this? XP-72. XP-72's all alone, so let's try to take advantage of that while he's alone. My nose is down. Nope. Too much speed. Tier 8 multi-roll. That multi-roll, no jet needed. That thing's got speed for days, right? Go ahead and utilize our altitude performance if at all possible. Got F7F inbound. Well, shoot. Very dangerous plane at tier 7 for sure. Couple hits in there, but let's go head on over here and see if we can't get I'm not gonna spend my time chasing down something that is faster than me. I've got a lot of speed, but F7F is, you know, it's a heavy plane, so it's gonna have more speed. And the XP-72 is a tier above on a multi-roll line that you really want to be taking advantage of your speed on. Let's see if I can't get some wrench here. Got another Akamatsu. Well, since he's here, let's see if we can't take advantage of him. Got his engine knocked out, because that's what you do to the pancake. It's funny, the F7F's got a ton of speed, and then the pancake kind of loses a bit of that. Feels like, anyway, per tier. Can I get some HP? Can I get some hit points, please? Right. Hello? Thank you. Let's go ahead and head up higher here. The GA on the enemy team's knocked out, so that's definitely a good thing. Let's see if we can't take advantage of our... Oh, Hamhawk? I didn't even realize that was Hamhawk. He was in the 302 previously. There we go, got him knocked out. Let's see if we can't get rid of our F7F friend wherever he went. Just go for the next closest plane. Which I guess we won't. Bad on me. Bad, 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 bad. I've just set myself up here for a terrible, terrible ending. Let's see if I can't get myself out of this terrible ending, though. Knocked out my engine, so that's definitely not going to be a good thing. Set me up to go in a straight line, so that way his friendly bots will get behind me and do unto me, right? See if I can't get him knocked out in a couple seconds here. No, I can't. Again, Just kind of wiggling around here because I'm being set up. Nope, game over anyway. Whew, barely. Didn't do very well at the end there. But did okay enough to stay alive. I set myself up, you know, at the very end there, going for that middle garrison. I was too focused on the enemy planes and not the defense aircraft. Luckily, I was able to survive. Let's head on back. So I want to say before I even get into the end screen here, just reinforce, I completely screwed up at the end there. You know, I was focused on, I thought the F-7F was there. I was completely focused on going for him and then that light fighter of some sort, when in reality, as soon as I realized that the F-7F wasn't anywhere nearby, I should just start going for the ADAs. And yeah, so what kept me alive at the end there was, honestly, was my unpredictability. And also forcing the enemy heavy fighter to not be able to, basically trying to force him to maneuver when he doesn't want to maneuver, right? So I went towards the enemy heavy fighter, but not directly towards him because you're not going to go head on, right? You're going to go towards him for a little bit just to close the gap very quickly, and then you're going to turn away. And it's just up to you of where you're going to turn and how you're going to turn. I typically try not to turn the same exact way every single time. Like, I'm not going to go left and up every single time. I'm not going to go right and up or right and down. Like, try to mix it up, right? And make it so that they don't know where you're going. It's so you're not a bot, and you know the bots are going up and to the left every single time, technically up and to their right. So you know that you can start aiming in that direction. And by taking those steps, being unpredictable and closing the gap between me and him, it allows less time for him to get his guns on target, less time to do damage. So even if he does, and when he almost certainly will hit you, he's not hitting you for 5 seconds. He's hitting you for half a second, if that makes sense. If you turn away, you're just setting yourself up for failure. Think about it. If you're chasing down a plane and they're moving away from you, it's plenty of time to move. You can react to their turning very easily because they're moving. You're both moving in the same direction. The reaction time does not need to be nearly as high. Now, if you're moving towards each other, the reaction time needs to be spot on. And so, again, I don't move it directly towards them. I'm moving at a slight angle, and then sometimes moving across the, right in front of their line of sight. Sometimes moving against it. You just have to kind of make that decision as you're in the battle. Doesn't always work, but it definitely works more often than it doesn't. Anyway, so that's the end of that. 16 frags, 6,400 damage, 14,000 personal points, 460 capture points. Pretty darn good battle in my opinion, even with the screw up at the end. I definitely could have had another couple thousand, probably another couple thousand personal points there if I wasn't screwing around at the end. I don't mean screwing around like I was taking it lightly. I was screwing around because it completely messed up on the tact. But I honestly feel I could have gotten 16,000 pretty easily here. But with this plane, you're going to want to do things like I did. Be going up high. Get these guns on target. They're very, very hard-hitting guns, and you've got a lot of flexibility with them that you don't normally have with the Tier 7 high-altitude fighters. All right, so here we're going to compare the I-220 to some of the other high-altitude fighters. I'm throwing the Ki-84 up here only because I know somebody in the comments is going to say, but what about the Ki-84? Well, the difference between these planes and the Ki-84 is pretty significant when it comes to the altitude. It's 1,000 feet, right? More than that, actually. Yeah. 1,000 feet just for the I-220, and then a little bit more for the American and German. So we're going to disregard the Ki-84 because it's not an altitude or high-altitude fighter. It's a mid-altitude fighter. So let's compare these three and see what we run into. So Keep in mind, I've got the BF-109G completely specialized and maxed out, and I've been messing around with maneuverability on it, so we're going to look at the base stats, or as close to the base stats as we can. The I-220 is technically the lowest altitude fighter of these three. The BF-109G and the P-51, this is a P-51D stock. I mean, fully maxed out, but not specialized is what I mean by that. But it's right kind of in the middle as far as rate of climb is concerned, and the difference between 6890 and 7200 as far as the altitude feet is concerned is pretty minimal at worst, right? Not a huge difference, but there is a little tiny difference. The differences that you're going to notice is honestly going to be on maneuverability. So the maneuverability for a BF-109G and an I-220 is pretty similar. They're both got an edge on the P-51D. Not a huge amount, but a little bit. If you're just in a normal dogfight, if you're in a stock versus stock or a non-spec versus non-spec plane, then you probably have you're probably going to be the more maneuverable of the planes if you're in an I-220 versus a P-51D. You're going to be kind of spot on versus a BF-109G. As far as airspeed is concerned, you're slightly slower in the I-220 than you are in the P-51D or the BF-109G. Again, just slightly, but it is something that you want to be mindful of. You also have less boost, I believe, than the P-51. Yeah, the P-51's got 12 seconds, where you've got 8 seconds, and the BF-109G looks like it's got 9 seconds, but it might be 8 seconds stock. I forget, to be honest. BF-109G and the I-220 are going to be very similar when it comes to overall airspeed. A little bit less on this plane, but not not crazy detrimental, right? Yeah. Survivability, I kind of throw that out the window when you're talking about fighters. It's survivability, like it's hit points. If you're relying on your hit points to survive in your Tier 7 light fighter, then you're doing it wrong. There is a 20 HP difference between the I-220 and the P-51D, but 20 hit points doesn't mean anything. The biggest difference between these planes is going to be the guns. And so, yeah, the altitude performance is a little bit weaker on the I-220. The maneuverability is a little bit better on the I-220. The airspeed is it's basically in the middle on the I-220. And so these three planes, when it comes to their airspeed, maneuverability, and altitude performance, are going to be very similar. There's definitely going to be differences. There's definitely going to be situations, like one-off situations, where P-51D, might be able to and that slightly better altitude might survive a little bit longer than the I-220, or the maneuverability on a BF-109G might just barely be able to outmaneuver an I-220, and you get yourself stuck in, and you're dead. But all in all, they kind of even themselves out. What separates these planes from each other is going to be their guns. P-51D has 6 of the 50 cal machine guns. Either you love them or you hate them. There's not a lot of people that are in between on those. Well, I shouldn't say love them. Either you like them or you hate them. Nobody loves them, but most people hate them, right? 312 cumulative damage. Not outstanding, but not the worst thing in the world. Your BF-109G actually has less damage per second. It has slightly better range, but it has one 30 mil hub cannon right out the front, and then you've got 2, for all intensive purposes, 50 cal machine guns to the left and right of that. And so, you can do chunk of damage with the 30 mil cannon, but overall you're doing slightly less damage. You're just doing different kinds of damage. You're actually doing, crit kind of damage. The I-220, though, is completely separated from these two planes. So the P-51D has its guns on the wings, which can be frustrating because you could be throwing a lot of bullets out there, but they're kind of going everywhere rather than going exactly where you want it. They're not going to be concentrated fire. BF-109G definitely has concentrated fire, being on the hub and on the cowling, but the amount of damage it's putting out isn't overwhelming by any means. The I-220 has 4 20mm cannons that shoot farther than both of these planes. and they're centrally located right here on the friggin', like right here, right? And so you're able to get the guns on target easier, and do the damage quicker because you're shooting from further out. And cumulatively, it's about 25% more damage that you're able to put out. 380 damage that you're able to put out over the 312 of the P51D and the 280 of the BF109G. And so, all in all, I can overcome, personally, and I'm sure a lot of you can as well, I can overcome any kind of barely, slightly deficiency when it comes to, altitude performance or airspeed or maneuverability. If there's anything that I'm slightly weaker on against the BF109G or the P51D, I can overcome that with tactic, with paying attention to the map, with making sure that I'm attacking the P51D or the BF109G from behind rather than letting them get behind me, that kind of stuff, right? And on top of that, with having these 420mm cannons, you can really do some nice damage to multi-rolls, to heavy fighters, to ground attack planes, to bombers. It's not like next level overwhelming things. Like if we compare this to a BF109Z or something like that, you're not going to be overly surprised and say, wow, this is basically a heavy fighter. It's not that level, but it's definitely hard hitting enough to have an impact on the game. You saw what I was able to do in this particular battle, and it's just a really, really good all-around plane. It's just so much fun. It allows a lot of flexibility that some of the other planes just don't allow you to have. P51Ds and BF109Gs, are known for their anemic output. Yeah, they can do things. They can do high altitude things. They can do speed things. The I-220 can do those things too, and it's got these really good cannons. Be aware. Full disclosure here. I am specialized in this plane. I only have improved items for the cockpit, airframe, and engine. I did have an extra ultimate uprated engine, so I have put that on here to add to acceleration and cruise speed. And I've put the improved mixture control on here to try to get even more airspeed out of the deal. I figure if you're going to be a high altitude fighter, might as well go all in when it comes to airspeed. And it tends to help out, in my opinion. You might want to set yourself up for more maneuverability. That's perfectly fine, perfectly acceptable. Everybody plays a different play style. I tend to go to extreme usually, but I do tend to also mix things up. If you saw my A6M5 video, and for that matter, the BF109G, I've gone kind of all in on maneuverability, I believe. Yeah, so I've set this one up to try to be as maneuverable high up as I possibly can because the guns are so anemic. I want to try to get them on target as quickly as possible as far as my turning is concerned. I don't have to force that in the I-220 because I have these guns that shoot farther and hit harder than the other Tier 7 light fighters that are altitude fighters. Please disregard the Key 84. So, yeah. If you haven't gone down this line, I highly recommend it. It's not like the world's best by any means. And for that matter, the Tier 6 light fighter before it is probably one of the worst in the game. Tier for tier, anyway. The I-210 was very, very frustrating. I stopped playing this line for a while because of the I-210, because its guns actually are very anemic. And then you've completely flipped the script and get the I-220, which is just one of the... Tier for tier, just one of the best fighters in the game, in my opinion. I might have mentioned it in the battle, I don't even remember. I like this plane so much that I actually grinded out the IL-10 because I wanted to keep playing it. I said, well, I had XP'd to the I-250, and I said, well, I want to keep playing this. Let me get all the XP for the IL-10, and I got the IL-10, which I absolutely love the IL-10 too now. But this plane really makes you want to keep playing it, and it's a shame I haven't played it more. I-250's mediocre. There's some people that really like it. Not many, though. Most people, it's just, speed bump onto the MiG-9 and the MiG-15, which are two... MiG-9 is especially really good tier for tier. MiG-15, there's a lot of really solid options at tier 10. MiG-15 isn't bad, but it's not one of the best. It's a good plane. But this is definitely, in my opinion, the gem of this whole line, the I-220. Tier 7, one of the few Tier 7s that's just like good. Just very good, even in a Tier 8 battle, as you saw there. The I-220 can do a lot. Anyway, do you agree with my assessment? Have you gone down this line? Is this something that you're looking forward to if you haven't gone down the line? What do you think? Put your messages down in the comments below. I'll be happy to respond, as you guys know. And I will catch you another time. Have a good one. Bye.